Hi, I'm Neil Day. I've come all the way from New Zealand to have a shoulder replacement. The reasons why I've come from New Zealand to have a shoulder replacement is because of a couple of things, really. One was the cost involved and the fact that I couldn't afford to get it done in New Zealand. The second was timing. I've been on the waiting list in New Zealand for 7 years for a shoulder replacement. And in those 7 years, my shoulder deteriorated quite dramatically. I've basically run a tiling business in New Zealand and I still work on the tools. And I still needed to work on the tools. It wouldn't have been possible for me to carry on working if I'd had this shoulder operation and the type of operation they were suggesting in New Zealand. After a little while, I decided that I would doing some research on shoulder replacements and type of procedures and different things, and I'd come across some quite interesting reading in India, and one of those was Dr. Raman Kant of Medanta Hospital and his facilities. At first I was quite dubious and quite concerned, but then with my background of growing up in the United Kingdom and the amount of Indian professional doctors that were available there, I didn't have any worries in their professionalism and the way they carry on in their field of expertise. I was more concerned with the fact of what the facilities would have been like to have the operation carried out in India. When I've eventually got a quote for the operation to be carried out, brought alarm bells to me. I thought, oh, this couldn't be right. This is so much cheaper than in New Zealand. How can this be nearly 40% cheaper, including flights and accommodation? And so I carried on, did some more research, and I looked at Dr. Raman Kant's history and noted that he'd worked quite extensively throughout Europe, and the hospital facilities that he had in India had some of the cutting edge technology and procedures that could only be done in somewhere like India. So I made the call and I booked my flights. Me and my wife, we were extremely nervous about coming to India, but we had nothing to worry about because the surgery that was carried out on my shoulder was first rate. And here I am now, getting ready to go home and knowing that in about 3 to 4 months' time, I'm going to be back at work. And the type of procedure is that I can still work actively with the type of procedure that I'm going to have carried out. I'm only 52 and I'm going to be able to carry out my working career until I retire. What more can a man ask for in the respect? Great facilities, great care, great attention was given to me. The amount of tests I had prior to my operation were extremely extensive. I just couldn't get over it, and the cost of every procedure was just incredibly cheap. So yeah, if you've got any hesitations of coming to India, don't, because if I need anything done again, I'll know where I'm coming. I would just like to say I'm extremely grateful to Dr. Raman Kant and his team at Medanta Hospital.
Neil David is a 52 years old gentleman who had been suffering from arthritis in the right shoulder for last 6 to 7 years. And he is a tiler who lays out tiles, and he's a British citizen but living in New Zealand and been suffering really bad, up to a point where night pain was waking him up every day and he could not work as a tiler. So he came to us for a shoulder replacement. It was a bit of a difficult shoulder replacement because in the young person who's working very hard with his shoulders, manual labor, it's difficult to get it right. But he reposes faith in us, and we did his shoulder replacement where we could reshape his socket and replace the ball so that he can go back to his profession and sporting activities in 6 months to 1 year time. And he had a eventless post-operative recovery, and was very pleased when his pain score went down from 10 on 10 to 4 or 10 immediate post-operative period. So he was quite happy. So arthritis in the shoulder is quite common. There are 6 types of arthritis, but most of the types of arthritis begins after 60 years of age. And there are 6 types of arthritis. One is primary osteoarthritis. The arthritis in the shoulder is as common as if there are 14 patients of knee arthritis, one patient will have shoulder arthritis, which is usually misdiagnosed as frozen shoulder. Then there is arthritis because of rheumatoid disease. There is arthritis because of rotator cuff tear arthropathy, the tendons which control the shoulder movements. So it is very, very common. Young patients also develop arthritis. Most of them either have manual laborers or are lifting weights because of the wrong technique, or because of some injury which happens at a smaller scale early on, and then it progresses to arthritis. So young arthritic shoulders are a challenge, but we are routinely dealing with them, whether the young, middle-aged, or the old patients, which is they found the major bulk of arthritis, and we reverse shoulder replacement. But in younger patients, we do an anatomical shoulder replacement so they can have more normal function, non-normal movements.